Hi there, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mangs, and I welcome you guys back to another monthly Patreon Q&A, this time around for the month of August. I've decided to do these segments monthly now, because a lot of people enjoyed it last time. So the Patreon Q&A is quite simple. It's questions asked by my patrons, I record them, I give thorough answers, and I have some sort of gaming footage in the background. I haven't quite decided what to put in yet, but I'm sure it's going to be great. So, me and my upside down chair, which I'll never explain the meaning of, are going to keep you company here for the next, I have no idea how long this will be, 30 plus minutes, probably something. And this time around, I allowed my patrons to ask a single question. I decided to do it that way because I wanted to spend more time on each individual question. Before we start though, I have some information to give you guys. So this month, and probably the next month, I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on Patreon contents. When I say Patreon content, that doesn't mean content that only my patrons can see. I have this policy that I would like to make content for my entire YouTube channel, but that I can allow my patrons to influence the amount of content that I'm making. So I have this new concept that I'm going to be making a video announcing soon, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a Patreon exclusive Pick My Edits. So what that means is that we will be doing a edit of a Game Boy Advance game, probably Fire Emblem 6 or Fire Emblem 7. I'm going to have Calvin, one of my mods, helping me out. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to let my Patreons have the ability to create characters for that hack, and then I'll be playing it, probably on a stream. I may only do like the first 7 chapters or something, because I want to do multiple of these, so I don't have to like make an entire Let's Play every single time. I've decided if I'm going to stream it live or make a Let's Play on the channel, I could do both, but I was thinking that would be a lot of fun. So how this would work is, for example, if you are one of my Patreons, you can create a Cavalier, for example. You can decide the portrait, the name, the starting inventory, the growth rates. You know, you'll get a set amount of numbers to increase your growth rates by. You can influence the base stats, and then basically we'll create a roster of Patreon-made characters, kind of like a coring quest, but in Game Boy Advanced format. And then of course I'll release the hack to the public so everyone can play it. And yeah, I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Also going to allow my patrons to be bosses of said hack if they want to. So it's going to be like the first Patreon exclusive PME. And I think that's going to be a very good way to give back to my patrons, because I'm really, really grateful for the support you guys are giving me. YouTube just got hit with another like wave of lowered ad revenue, so I have gone up actually 0.2 million views every month, and yet my ad revenues are down another 30%. Just check my analytics. So the YouTube is making it harder and harder for its content creators to actually live off YouTube. And truth be told, if I didn't make my Patreon account, I'm not sure if I could continue doing this. So the Patreon account is actually what's keeping me going. So I'm really, really grateful for your guys' support. It means a lot to me. And with that out of the way, let's get into the questions, shall we? Alright, so the first question of today comes in from Tart, and I will be putting timestamps in the video description as well as the pinned comments if you guys want to jump to individual questions and maneuver around if there's some you don't like. So just check out the video description if you want to see all the questions, and maybe you want to jump to some earlier than others. Anyway, so Tart says, when and how did you become so obsessed with Pepsi? Pepsi Max. Thank you very much. There's a big difference. I do not drink regular Pepsi. I only drink Pepsi Max, okay? Do not touch regular Pepsi. I bought it on accident a couple times, and I like flush it down the drain. That's how much I hate it. So when I grew up, there weren't much sugar in my house. My father couldn't. Whenever he ate sugar, he would get stomach aches. So we didn't have sugar. We ate like other kinds of snacks instead, like chips and stuff like that. There was never sugar in our house, almost never. And as a result, my mom would buy Pepsi Max during weekends, and that's kind of, I grew up on it pretty much. I think I just acquired a taste for it. But one of the reasons also why I like Pepsi Max so much is simply because there's a lot of caffeine in it. I drink it as coffee, I guess you could say. Most adults I know drink coffee. I don't. I can drink coffee, but I prefer Pepsi Max. It helps me out a lot when I'm editing, when I'm up late. I drink Pepsi Max to stay energized. During my videos, I always have a can of Pepsi Max next to me. Sometimes I drink water too. I have been making it a point to start drinking more water in my daily life because I know it's healthy, and I do drink a lot of water. I always start each day with a big bottle of water right here, so I have water as well. Almost drank up the entire bottle already, and it's pretty early today. So I drink it as coffee. It keeps me awake, and it just became a meme pretty much, I guess. I mean, generally I just like the taste. I do not drink other kinds of soda. If someone pours me a glass of Coke, I mean, I can drink it, but it doesn't do much for me. Gotta be completely honest. Not a big fan of soda in general. I drink Pepsi Max and I drink water, and occasionally wine. Everyone's gonna have their poison. This is mine. I have tried to quit it occasionally. The only reason why I think I would maybe be better off without it is because it's sort of expensive. I mean, soda's kind of expensive, so if I cut it out and start drinking only water, I guess I would be a lot better off financially, but... You know, I just find that when I don't have Pepsi Max, my productivity goes down. It's why, I mean, almost every single workplace in existence has free coffee for its employees. And there is a very good reason for this. When you give your workers caffeine, they work better. It's an investment, really. I kind of see Pepsi Max as sort of like the same investment for me. If I don't have Pepsi Max, I easily become tired and I don't work as hard. Whereas if I have Pepsi Max, I can sit up late and I can edit for hours and hours on end, getting the caffeine boost I need to keep me awake and keep me energized. It also helps me get more energy during when I make videos. And making YouTube videos, I mean, especially when you commentate, is actually very tiresome. Like, after I've done 2 or 3 videos, I'm ouch. I go to sleep and I fall asleep like that. It's very tough work to talk. It actually is. Like, I think it's more stressful than people may imagine if they haven't done videos themselves. So I hope that answered your question. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, so the next question comes in from the Better Panda. And he asks, have you ever been in an argument with one or more of your co-hosts, i.e. Mekkah, Ghast, Ray, etc., or even Mina? The answer to this is not really. I mean, me and Mina, we've had small fights before, but like nothing super serious and nothing that I would go into here because that's personal, really. But no, not really. I mean... disagreements, maybe. I mean, me and Mekkah disagree on a lot of things, but no, I haven't really had any fights. I wish I could give you a better answer. Really, I do, but I mean, it's been a while since I had any fights with any friends, to be fair. I mean, I feel like fighting with your friends is something you do when you're very young, you know? Like when I was 15, 16, I would get into fights with my friends all the time. There would be lots of drama. After you turn like 20, 21, you kind of just stop fighting with your friends. I mean, maybe I'm unique in this regard, but I feel like once you've grown up and you settle down and you kind of established who your true friends are, you kind of stop having fights. Maybe you have small disagreements and discussions from time to time, but I haven't had a good fight with any like close friend of mine, even on the internet, you know, aside from, and I'm not counting like the Fort Mangs drama and shit like that, like fighting. That's just internet drama. That's something completely unrelated. Nor would I count any of those guys who used to be part of Team Mangs who left it under bad circumstances. Any of those, they weren't my friends. I wouldn't really consider those guys part of that category. But no, I haven't had a good fight in like, I don't know, since I was, I think 17 or 18. I mean, I fight a lot with my girlfriends, but that's something completely different. So no, I haven't had any good fights or arguments, maybe like minor disagreements, but nothing where it gets like heated or anything like that. The only thing, as I said, I can remember is I had a bit of a fight with Mina a couple months back, but that was all resolved and it's all good. So that happens every now and then, but when you grow up, you kind of tend to stop fighting people. Alright, so next question comes in from Wariokonga, and it's another fight-related question. He says, have you ever been in a physical fight, or physical altercation / fight, with someone that wasn't just siblings playing around? If so, why? Throughout my entire life, I've been in one real fight. Just one. I've actually done 10 years of martial arts training, karate. A lot of people don't know that, but I've done a lot of martial art. I was fairly good at it. I haven't trained now for 2 years, ever since I moved to Oslo. Kind of moved away from my club in my hometown. I have considered starting kickboxing though. I have a friend who really wants me to train kickboxing with her, so I might start doing that soon. But I do love martial arts. I've trained Aikido, trained karate, even done a bit of Krav Maga. Like, I love martial arts in general. I think it's fantastic, especially for guys. It's a great outlet for frustrations, let me tell you that. So, but because I'm really big, I'm a big guy, 6'2", I'm pretty massive. People don't pick fights with me. Usually, you're left alone. You don't get mugged, you don't get assaulted. When you're big, usually people leave you alone. So I haven't been in many fights at all, and I'm a pretty peaceful person in real life. I'm not aggressive or anything like that, so I don't really tend to end up in sticky situations. But I was in one real fight. I was dating this girl, I'm not going to mention her name, but she was a pretty cute redhead. But she had a heap of issues, and I knew this when I started dating her. She just told me that she got out of a really bad abusive relationship, and that her friend, or her ex-boyfriend, was a drug dealer. And she came from a really awful circle of friends. She had just kind of ditched them and tried to get out of it. And I knew that this girl was like red flags galore, but I was 19 at the time, and that was kind of the girls that I liked going for. So we were at McDonald's one night. We had just been on a date, and I was driving her home, and we stopped by a McDonald's, and she was in the car. I headed in to just get a couple of Big Macs, and on my way out, it was like 2 in the night. It was like a night open McDonald's. Boom! Suddenly 5 guys around me immediately. And one of them were her ex. I don't know how they knew, but maybe they just saw me and they were in nearby. And boom! They attacked me all at once. And the next thing I remember, they were all on the floor. And I was also on the floor, bleeding everywhere. But they were bleeding more. And I don't even remember the fight. I just remembered it happened. Boom, boom, boom. And I remember that 2 of them had to go to the hospital with broken ribs, I think. And all of them had to go to the doctor in some fashion. Ironically, I think it's her ex-boyfriend got away the cheapest. I think he only got a broken nose. But yeah, that's... I remember, like, snippets and bits of the fight. I remember that it couldn't have taken more than 5 seconds. My girlfriend at the time, she didn't even see the fight because she was on the other side of the McDonald's waiting in the car. So she couldn't tell me anything what had been going on either, and I don't think anyone was there to witness it. Maybe the security cameras caught it? I don't know. But that's like the only real fight I've ever been in. And, you know, when we got home, I put some ice on it, and I was fine. I didn't break anything or anything like that. But it did confirm to me that, hey, I can fight. If I need to get in a fight, I can fight, definitely. So that was kind of assuring for me to know at the very least. And after that, I haven't been in a single fight. I don't enjoy fighting, not for real. Maybe I am a fighter, but I don't enjoy the prospects of fighting. I don't like violence. I think it's just uncomfortable and unnecessary, but I do love sparring. Like, I love fighting in a ring. Like, I absolutely adore that. Like, friendly competition is great. But real fighting and violence is bad. I've always shunned that, and I shied away from it, and I don't think fighting or punching someone to solve your problems is ever a justifiable solution. And I hate anyone who uses violence to fix their problems. Pretty much. But that's like the only story. I wish I could give you more details of the fight, but truth be told, I just don't remember. I think adrenaline kicked in, and I think survival instincts kicked in, and the reptile brain probably just took over. And that's probably why I don't remember much. But, you know, if I close my eyes, I can, like, remember pictures, but that's it. I remember hitting things. but it's very weird. It's like another part of my brain just took over. Boom. So, yeah. I have been in situations where I've almost gotten into fights, like outside of a bar. I remember there was like this really threatening guy. I think he was African, and I saw that he had a knife in his jacket. I saw the hilt of the knife, and he was very threatening to everyone around him, but I just avoided him. I've been in like many almost interactions, almost fights, but it never kind of broke into real violence. It's only that episode where I actually physically hurt people. So I hope that was an enjoyable story. I did end up breaking up with this girl after a couple of weeks after that, because I realized she was more than I could handle. Way too many skeletons in her closet. But she was cute at the very least. So next question comes in from good old Armored Panda, and he says, what would you do if the internet dies and you can't use stuff like YouTube, Twitch, Discord, etc. at all? So I think if the internet just died tomorrow, I think the world would burn. I literally, like, I cannot imagine what kind of catastrophic effects this would have on the world and just how much it would fuck up for people. But the worst part is, I think that a lot of people would actually kind of be very happy if that happened. I know it's a terrible thing to say, but I think that if the internet suddenly went away, I think people would have to go outside. And I think a lot of people would start doing things. Like, personally, if I couldn't do YouTube, I guess I'd probably work out a lot more than I currently do. I work out a lot now, but I would probably go to the gym like every single day. I'd probably, you know, going to bodybuilding or something like that. That would be fun. But I would, of course, have to find myself a new job, and with the internet down, I think the market would probably crash and collapse, and jobs would probably be really hard to get, but there would probably be a lot of demand for, like, physical labor and shit like that, so, yeah, I think I'd definitely go into that. But what I would do, I mean, it's so fucking hard to say. The internet has kind of come to dominate our lives. It's kind of impossible for us to imagine a life without it. But I guess I just would be more social, I suppose. Go catch up with old friends, and, you know, what I would probably do is I would play a fuck ton of Dungeons and Dragons, like the board game, not the board game, but the pen and paper RPG. I'd probably have, like, Dungeons and Dragons sessions at my house, like, twice a week, because, you know, that doesn't require internet. So I'd probably do a lot like that, probably play a lot more board games, like Warhammer Fantasy Battles. I would play maybe more poker, card games, Magic the Gathering. You know, I would do like a lot of more of the stuff that I did growing up, I think. Because when I grew up, you know, when I was like 14, 15 years old, the internet wasn't really all that well established. We had it, but, you know, it wasn't great or anything, so you couldn't really sit all day and surf. You know, it took like an hour to download a single video, or like 15-second long video of something. It was and YouTube was pretty much not a thing. So I went down to this club called Imaginare, and we used to play a lot of board games there. Board games, card games, we used to watch TV, like watch Initial D and other animes. It was great. So yeah, I'd probably just do a lot more of that. I'd probably make a club, I think, a fantasy-related club, and just do physical things that don't require an internet connection. And the worst part is, I think if the internet just died tomorrow, we'd probably have like complete anarchy for a couple of months at least, and things would probably not be very nice. But I think that after that, I think humans would be happier overall. I know it's a terrible thing to say when I work in YouTube and my internet's basically my income, but I actually think humanity would be happier without the internet. So that's yeah, I think we would all be very happy. It's the answer I have. So, the next question comes in from Momiji. Momiji? Do you say Momiji or Momiji? I never quite figured that one out. And she asks, outside of the Fire Emblem franchise, which game series had the hottest wives / waifus? So it's really difficult for me to name just one. Fire Emblem is definitely one of the most waifu-centric games that I play, I think. And when I grew up, like, I didn't play the traditional games that most other kids played. I would mostly play RPGs. I think one of the games that I've sunk the most hours into is probably Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate 2. I played so much Baldur's Gate 2 growing up. Like, it was absolutely insane how much I played that game. And a fair bit of Baldur's Gate 1 and Throne of Ball as well. And I had a massive crush on Jaheira, the elf. Like, you could actually have a romance with her in Baldur's Gate 2. And the romances in Baldur's Gate 2, they were pretty complex. They took part over the entire game. You would have, like, 50 plus dialogues, I think, with them, and you would have to say the right things in order to woo them and stuff like that, and you could fuck it up so easily. So yeah, I had a big crush on Jaheira. I also played Dragon Age a lot, and I loved Morrigan and Liliana. I thought they were both pretty gorgeous. And of course, I have to mention my favorite game of all time, Planescape Torment, which I have been increasingly more wanting to do a Let's Play off on the channel. Except for that's so text heavy. Oh my god, it's gonna be fucking impossible to do that. And in Planescape Torment, you meet two very gorgeous girls. You meet Anna the Thiefling, who's like a really fiery redhead with a tail. Not keen on the tail, but I think she's pretty gorgeous. And but my biggest crush in that game was Fall from Grace, the blonde succubus. She's actually a succubus, but she's good, which is really weird. She's a complete fucking self-contradiction. Like, she makes no sense from a character perspective, but I love her character because she's such an enigma, and she's fucking gorgeous. I had the biggest crush on Fall from Grace. So that's like the waifus that I can mention. I know it's not a lot, but as I said, I didn't play a lot of waifu-centric games. I played turn-based strategy games and stuff like that, RPGs. I never played any like anime games or anything like that, so I didn't really grow up surrounded by a lot of like traditional stereotypical waifus. But these were the girls that I grew up with a big crush on, like video game-wise. Alright, so the next question comes in from Gregster, and he asks, who are your favorite Fire Emblem 4 and 5 characters? So I'll pick 2 from the first and second generation of Fire Emblem 4 and 2 from Fire Emblem 5. So my 2 favorite characters in the first generation, probably Lex and Lewin. I love Lex because he's basically like an early incarnation of Hector. I just think he has a general cool dialogue, and I like him as a unit. He's an Axe Knight, which is awesome. Give him the hero axe, he kicks ass. Elite allows him to level up. He's so much fun to use, and I just love his personality and overall. I think he makes a great father for certain kids, and yeah, I just think Lex is great. Lewin because he's an asshole. I just like how much of an asshole he is, really. I know it's because, you know, he gets possessed and all that in the second generation. Whoops, spoilers, but I just really like Lewin. I think he has a great introduction to the game. He makes a lot of important decisions in the plot. He's kind of like one of the main characters, I'd almost say. And I just think he's great overall. In Fire Emblem 4 Generation 2, I'm gonna be a little bit of a cop-out here. I'm gonna select 2 substitutes because I love the substitutes. I love Rodney and I love Hawk. I love Rodney's design, mostly, really. I just think she's gorgeous. And I love Hawk because he fucking kicks ass. Like, I don't... Steady, sit down. Hawk is the best. Like, Hawk is all you need. Steady's overrated. Hawk is where it's at. Give that guy a lightning tome. He fucks up everything. It's the best. I fucking love Hawk, man. And honorable mention should also go out to Finn. I know he's part of both games, but I love Finn as well. In Fire Emblem 5, I actually, well, I don't think anyone's going to be surprised by this one, but I fucking love Othin and his Pooji. Othin's great. He's such a fun unit to use. I love him to death. He is absolutely fantastic. And as far as the second character, Marty, because he is the first playable brigand, and everyone hates him, and he's complete trash, and that's why I love using him. I actually used him in my Fire Emblem 5 LP, just gave him scrolls, and I thought he turned out pretty alright. I love Marty, he's great. And an honorable mention goes out to Ralph. He is the hero we deserve, not the one we need. That was actually the other way around, but it actually came out pretty okay. Yeah, he's the hero we deserve, but not the hero we need. That's why he's on the bench all the time. But I love Ralph. He's great. Alright, so the next question comes in from ServantOfNiime, and she says, out of the fantastic crew of Jugdral villains, who would you say are your 5 favorites / the 5 best written? Okay, so this is a tricky one because there's not that many great villains in Jugdral, but I'll start with number 1, which I don't think is going to be a lot of... I don't think this is going to be very surprising. Alvis, obviously. I don't circle jerk Alvis as much as the rest of the community does, I feel. He's alright. I don't think he's like the best villain of all time, but he certainly is a good villain. And you can kind of relate to him. He's sort of like a tragic character. You know, you kind of understand why he does the things that he does, although it requires you to play through the game maybe once or twice to really understand his full motivations. But I do like Alvis a lot. Again, a very tragic villain. Number 2, I would place Ishtar. I think Ishtar is a great character. I really like her design, and one of the things that really amazed me about Ishtar is she's very perplexing. You never quite know where she is at. You never quite know exactly what her motives are. Like, she reminds me a lot of Marjorie in Game of Thrones. She's a really pretty character that's kind of like stuck with the evil guys, and she does her best to like manipulate the villain who she's like in a relationship with, and it's kind of interesting to see how she reacts to the events around her. And like, it's quite obvious that Ishtar is not evil, but at the same time, she doesn't go over to the other side as well. She seems to love her family, despite the Free just being assholes. And really towards the end, when she goes out to fight and she basically suicides, you never quite know exactly what she feels. Or like, she's the last Frege and she just throws herself out in combat. You never quite know what her motives are, which makes her a very mysterious character. And she's hot as all hell. Number 3, I'd place Travant. Up until the very end, Travant seems like a very generic evil villain, but like in his last final moments, he kind of reveals that he just cares about his country and he just wants his people to stop starving. And that's a big turn, I think, and that makes you feel really bad about fighting him. Like, he governs over the southern part of Thracia, which is really poor, and his people are suffering. And at the end of the day, he just wants his people to stop starving. That's why he wants to conquer northern Thracia, because northern Thracia has a lot of resources, whereas southern Thracia has no resources, so they're forced to be mercenaries to fend for themselves. And he just wants a way out for his people suffering. And I think, while I do not agree with the things he did, at least he has other motivations other than just being a generic evil villain who wants power. Because that's certainly what he comes off as initially, and then towards the end he reveals his true motivations, which is a really cool way of doing it. On number 4, we gotta play Sane. I mean, the guy is like all over the place. He's in the first generation, he's in the second generation. I mean, Sane is just everywhere, man. Like, this guy has fought in so many battles and under so many aliases, but you know it's the same guy because he has the same portrait. So Sane is like, maybe he's like Sane from the original Fire Emblem in that he can like shape change. Although that doesn't explain why he looks the same all the time. I don't know. He must be some sort of divine dragon because he hasn't aged at all from generation 1 to generation 2. And you know, saying he's always on the opposite side, sadly. So he's definitely a villain. But I think that Sane's true motivations will always be a mystery to us all. And on the 5th place, I'd say Macbeth. Macbeth's character is so complex, and his motivations are just so good, you know? Towards the end, all he wanted was just peace and prosperity for Augustria. That's why he sent the bandits out. He just wanted to protect the villages. But then we just came along and fucked up his plans, and he died tragically. Rip Macbeth, you will always be remembered. So the next question comes in from Hardboiled, and he says, what do Norwegians typically eat, and what are some of your favorite foods? I'd prefer if you kept it to traditional dishes. To be fair, dude, there aren't really that many traditional Norwegian dishes left that Norwegians eat on a regular basis. Maybe we eat them on, like, special occasions, weddings, and shit like that. But no, I mean, I'd say that Norwegians eat pretty normally. Like, we eat a lot of potatoes, and we eat a lot of fish. There's potatoes and fish in almost everything we eat. Eat a lot of chicken. It's very common on Fridays for us to eat tacos. That's basically become a Norwegian dish now, I'd say. And we eat like meatballs and sauce and a lot of pasta. Like, Norwegians just eat regular. We eat pretty healthy though. We're a pretty healthy nation. Not a lot of overweight people in Norway. So we're pretty like, we're pretty good at eating proper foods. But no, there's something called smalahove, which is a Norwegian traditional dish, but we almost never eat that. We have something called tilslørte bondepiker, which is like kind of like a dessert. We have, I don't know, my family eats something called rakfisk every Christmas, which is like a Norwegian variant of sushi. It's a fish that we used to bury down in the earth. We don't do that anymore, but it's very salty and it's very similar. We eat it with butter and vegetables. It's, aside from that, like, I can't really name any Norwegian traditional dishes that Norwegians eat on a regular basis, aside from fish and potatoes and meatballs. That seems to be, like, what we eat the most of. And a lot of pasta. Norwegians fucking love their pasta. And we also have a pizza called Grandiosa, which is actually a Norwegian pizza, and it's actually really, really fucking popular. It's actually the most commonly consumed pizza in Norway. And it's alright, it's very cheap, I think that's the appeal of it. It's pretty thin. The taste is difficult to describe. It's like, it has paprika, cheese, and some meat on it. That's it. It's a very plain tasting pizza. Not very exciting, but Norwegians go crazy over it. It's like one of the most common student food. Students love eating, like they buy it in bulk and they just make it because it's easy to make. And there are even some reports of Norwegian eating Grandiosa for their Christmas meals. When I tell this to my mother, she like gets so triggered by that. It's hilarious. And my mother hated Grandiosa. She wouldn't have it in the house. So whenever I brought it home when I lived home, she would always get super triggered. She would always like, why would you eat that? Why would you eat that piece of crap pizza? There's like nothing on it. I was like, well, you know, as I said, it's not good, but it tastes alright. I'd eat it, you know, but it's not my preferred meal. But if someone makes it, I'm not gonna say no. But yeah, I hope that answered your question. So the next question comes in from Platerade, and he says, you mentioned wanting to visit America sometime soon. What American food would you want to try, and where? Like pizza in New York? So New York is probably the city that I would visit, because my American friend, he has family in New York, and I would probably go together with him if I were to visit America. I think, I've heard that bagels are amazing in New York. Like, New York bagels, apparently. Like, we have bagels in Norway, but my American friend always tells me, like, that's not a bagel. Like, you need to go to America to get a proper bagel. So, yeah, pizza, definitely. I've heard that American pizza is really good. I mean, American burgers. I want to eat the hot dog at a hot dog stand. You know, I just want to try street food. I'm always a big fan of street food. Like, I love stands where they make food out in the streets that you just go and buy. Like, when I was in Japan, my favorite types of food were always those little stands where you could just go and sit down and order a plate of something and just sit outside in the street and eat. I love street food. So that's probably what I would go for. But yeah, bagels, definitely. And yeah, I don't know. Just what other kind of typical American foods do you have? I don't know. I guess I'll just have to find out. That's all I can say about that one. So next question comes in from CBAwesome18, and he asks, Louise or Clair? And don't be slick and say both if you generally had to pick one. Okay, so I think I've made my position on this clear. So, Louise definitely has the best attire. I think she is dressed the most sexiest. And as a wife, she definitely has the best qualities. Like, if I could marry one, I'd pick Louise. When it comes to pure attractiveness, I think that Clair wins out by, like, a very tiny margin. I think that she is prettier and sexier in a way. Like, she has that... I don't know, there's just something about her sassy attitude that I really, really find attractive, you know? I just really love the pompous, stuck-up noble girl that just needs to get fucked. I don't know, I don't know, it's just... Claire is just... there's something about her that just pushes my buttons in the right way, but... When it comes to pure attractiveness and who I like more, they're so close that they were almost the same. But if I had to pick one, I'd say that Claire wins out by like 0.1%. Like, she's just a little bit better. But it's like, they're so identical, it almost doesn't matter. But I do believe I said this during my Echoes Let's Play, that I find Claire more attractive than Louise. But I also think I mentioned that Louise had a better attire. If Claire were to dress up in Louise's attire... Whew, oh my god, someone please draw fan art of this. I would love that so much. So yeah, Claire wins out, I'm afraid. But... I'd put a ring on Louise's finger, if I could, over her. Because I think Louise would be a better wife. So next question comes in from the one and only Gnarfledarf. That's Ogim, by the way. And he asked me a pretty fucking cool question. I actually had to write the answer to this one down. So he asks, if you could pick any combination of mechanics from every Fire Emblem game released so far, which ones would you want to see in your dream Fire Emblem game? Like weapon durability, fatigue, Jugdral, Tellius, Fates, Awakening, Echo, skill system, letges, weapon triangle, support, bonus XP, and so on. Oh, this is great. I love this question so much. I could almost make an entire video based on this one, but yeah, I wrote down, this is like my dream combination. If the next Fire Emblem game were to be like this, I would fucking scream. So, first and foremost, I would like the weapon durability from the old games back. I don't like the unbreakable weapons. I think that conserving weapon durability is a cool aspect to Fire Emblem. I love managing resources, and I think this is good. I kind of think it's sad that, for example, Echoes don't even have gold. Like, crafting is the only sort of resource management that you have to base your gameplay around, which I think is sad. So yeah, I would like weapon durability back. Then I would like dungeon/town exploration from Guide on Echoes. I think that exploring dungeons and towns is a good and cool aspect of Fire Emblem, and I think that could be incorporated into a future title. I do love that. I just love, it's cool to walk around in towns and talk to people and find new people to recruit and stuff like that. It's a great addition to Fire Emblem, and I think it definitely should be there to stay. Then I would love the pairing system and 2 generations from Genealogy of the Holy War. I will say it, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again, Fire Emblem 4 did the best sort of pairing. Like, even to this day, the pairing system is the best. And the fact that there's 2 generations, then you fight as the children of the people you paired up in the 2nd generation is amazing, and I would like to see this again. They can definitely do this if they remake Fire Emblem 4, but I think just in general, I would just love to see a story that spans across 2 generations again. It would be really cool to see the children fight their parents' battles and, you know, come back and take vengeance. And I also love how in Fire Emblem 4, how you see, like, the children of the villains that you fought in the 1st generation and stuff like that. It just really makes the whole conflict seem so much grander because it spans over multiple generations. Hell, make it 3 generations. That would be even more insane. I hear rumors that Fire Emblem 4 was actually supposed to have 3 generations, but it was scrapped during development. That would have been insane. Holy shit, imagine the pairings you could do with that. So yeah, I would love to see that. Absolutely would love to see that. I think children are actually an integral part of Fire Emblem. Fates kind of brought, and Awakening kind of brought it in, and I think the fact that Echoes don't have it was actually sort of bad. I understand why they didn't have it. They couldn't because it was a remake of Gaiden, but I think that pairing and making children and, you know, passing down skills has become a really popular aspect of Fire Emblem, and I think they should bring it back, but not in the time travel mumbo jumbo way that they did. But give us 2 generations, for fuck's sake. Just give us 2 or 3 generations. It would be amazing. You could sell them as separate games, just like you did with Fates. Like, sell the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd generations as separate games, and boom, you have 3 games that you can sell. What more could you ask for? It's licensed to print money, and Nintendo loves its money, right? Then I would love the leadership stars from Tracer776. I think that Tracer776 did leadership stars the best, in my humble opinion. I love the fact that certain units just gives you a boost. It gives you an incentive to field them. It's a way to make generals more useful, because, you know, they're generals, they suck, but at least you can give them some leadership stars. You can place some leadership stars on, like, old characters, Jagen-esque characters, so that they help out your army just by being there. It provides them some use aside from just fighting. I just love leadership stars, and they just add another layer of complexity. I also think it's kind of cool that when you face the enemy and they have multiple generals, taking down generals like reduces the enemy's leadership stars, and it kind of changes how you approach certain maps, because you can like try and assassinate certain generals all over the map to like make the map easier, which I think is kind of cool. And I love how Sias shows up with 10 leadership stars and just goes, oh my god, what the fuck, like your soldiers kind of crush you now. It's amazing. And then I want guidance chapters and hidden ending from Binding Blade. I think that Fire Emblem 6 did guidance chapters really well, and I love the fact that to get the best ending, you would have to do them all. I think we can definitely go back to that. I just missed guidance chapters in general. Can we get guidance chapters back? Like, I know that developers are lazy and don't want to cut away content to be exclusively for those who perform certain requirements, but I think that unlocking guidance chapters feels very good, and it feels like you've discovered something. And it just adds a bit of mystique to the game. And I think it's very sad that we don't have guidance chapters anymore. And then I would love recruits from Sacred Stones. This might surprise a lot of you guys, but I actually think that the concept of a unit that joins really shit and can be transformed into something cool is really nice. It's just that in Sacred Stones, they didn't really work out because the game was so easy, so there really was no need to train a recruit. And Amelia sucks, haha, blah, 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 Ewan sucks, all that. But I think that it would be really cool if we started, like the next game came out, and we started with 3 recruits, kind of like we start with villagers now. I guess they're very similar to villagers in a way, but not quite. I would just like to see recruits make a return. Like, and I think in another setting and in a more difficult game where the end game is actually hard and training up a recruit would be good. I think that I would really like to see that. You could make the, you could of course say that Donal and Mosa and stuff like that are kind of recruits, but not really. I would just like to see the return of recruits, really. Then, bonus experience and letges from Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn. I love the bonus experience system. Not only was it fun to be able to give a little bit of extra boost to the units who needed it, but I also loved how... That's my phone. I didn't realize I had it on. Stupid. There's actually a blonde chick who sent me a message. Not today! I'm doing a Patreon Q&A, bitch. Alright, so... where was I? Yeah, so bonus experience. Not only do I love the fact that you can give units extra levels, but I also love the fact that if you perform certain conditions, you get bonus experience, such as like in some chapters, if you don't kill unnecessary units, you get extra bonus experience. I just wish the game would tell you more. There should be like a little battle screen at the end of a chapter where it says like bonus experience acquired, and I think it should tell you beforehand, actually, like complete this objective here and here and here, do this map in 20 turns and you'll get this much bonus experience. That's what it lacked. I wish it would do that, but yeah, I just really enjoyed the concept of bonus experience as a reward for the player for doing things properly, and it might incentivize people to do more speedruns and stuff like that, because, you know, it's nice. Like, you don't want to be sitting around and grinding when you can complete the chapter in 10 turns and get like 1,000 bonus experience, which is a lot better. Well, you don't get 1,000, but you get my point. I also think that elevation from Radiant Dawn was a really nice mechanic, although they kind of overdid it a little bit. I think you get like 50% hit and 50% avoid when you're on a cliff and shooting down, which is a little bit too much because it's way too hard to shoot up, but I think they could probably reduce it a little bit and still keep it in the game. I think that Radiant Dawn's elevation and map system was really nice overall and added a lot of complexity to the game, so I would love to see that back. Then I would love the supports from Awakening. I personally think Awakening did supports really well. The Awakening supports are all really good. I love that there's so many of them. That's one of my primarily complaints with Echoes, that there's not enough support conversations, probably because they all have to be voice acted. I just really like the supports from Awakening. A lot of them are really good. Although some of them are a bit gimmicky, there's a lot of hidden jewels in there, and I just really like the way Awakening did supports. Then lastly, I would like the skills and personal skills from Fates. I think that the skill system in Fates is the best it has ever been in any Fire Emblem game. Personal skills added a layer of complexity and depth to the characters that made them a lot more unique and feel a lot better. So I just really want personal skills back at the very least. Can we please have that? I think it's such a wasted potential that Echoes had a skill system but didn't have personal skills. Like, why would you not have personal skills? It adds another layer of complexity to the character that I really fucking like. Then I'll finish up with 3 features that I don't want in that game. I do not want pair-ups and dual strikes. I think that it's really good that Echoes moved away from it, and I hope it doesn't come back, because I just don't like pairing up. I don't want to see a self-inserted avatar. And lastly, I do not want to see the return of any mechanic similar to Mila's turn wheel. I've completely taken a 180 on the Mila's turn wheel. I've gone from loving it to absolutely despising it. So yeah, those are the features I want and don't want to see in my dream Fire Emblem game. And if they did that, I think I would simply just throw all my money at Nintendo and just live outside their headquarters and kiss them every time they came out. Alright, so the next question comes in from Mdarou, and he says, who is your favorite Jagen/Oifey in the series, and who is the most useful in their respective game, in your opinion, if it would be someone different? So, my favorite Jagen type character is probably, like, character-wise, it's Oifey, because I just really like how he's part of both generations. Unit-wise, I think Marcus from Fire Emblem 6. I think Marcus from Fire Emblem 7 is way too overpowered. He's way too fucking good. He completely breaks the game. Fire Emblem 6 Marcus is very balanced. On normal mode, he serves as a decent unit that you can use throughout the game. On hard mode, he kind of falls off by the Western Isles, but you kind of get sellouts who kind of takes over for him and can take it a little bit further from there. But I think, like, unit-wise, I think Marcus from Fire Emblem 6 is the most balanced he's ever been. He's good, he can carry the first part of the game, but he's not completely broken in that he just kills everything you throw him at. And he serves his purpose quite well, and you can use him until he's no longer viable, and then you stop using him, which is what I think a Jagen should be used for. Not like Marcus, who can fight until the last chapter and still be as good as the rest of your roster. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this month's Patreon Q&A. The next one will be out on September the 5th. I will be asking for your questions on the start of September. So all you need to do is just be a Patreon supporter. It doesn't matter how much you pledge, just you will be able to ask a question as long as you support me on Patreon. And I thank you so much. I thank you so much for your questions and for your contributions. You guys are a big part of what's keeping this YouTube channel going right now, I'll tell you that. YouTube is making it pretty hard, but you guys' support is really heartwarming, and I cannot begin to thank you enough for everything that you do. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. If you want to be part of the next round of questions for September, just support me on Patreon and you'll be able to ask a question and get it answered on this very special Mangs Cam talk. And do stay tuned for that Patreon Pick My Edits, which will be coming very soon. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for the questions. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. My name is Mangs, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.